Barnes, present. Callie Rigney. Mike Alfred. Alan Blaylock.
Here.
Eric Morris.
Here.
Gloria Pena. Here. Fred Campos.
Here.
Wendy Burgess. Matt Bryant.
Here.
That may be Wendy.
Hello, Quorum. If you'll please join me and invite to the microphone Tony Richmond, the Associate Pastor for First Church Color. Lead us in invocation.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today thanking you for these who have been elected and appointed to serve on the board of the Authorize and Appraiser District. Lord, we know that they bring years of experience, knowledge, Lord, to the table, to make important decisions. And yet, Lord, we also know that they are limited in their ability to know. But we're grateful that you are not limited in any way. You have all knowledge. And we pray, Lord, that according to what your word says in James 1:5, that you will grant them wisdom to know how to apply the knowledge that they have before them for the common good of the citizens of our county. And Lord, we pray that you would give them courage, Lord, to make hard decisions. We pray you give them perseverance even to make this meeting as they come to you and as they seek to make these decisions. Lord, we pray that you would give them incredible peace. Lord, we know each of them have family and circumstances as well laying heavy on their hearts. And we pray that they would be able to focus today on the decisions that would be made. Lord, we know that you created government. And it's a good thing. And so we pray that they would do all of these things in accordance with your will. And we pray these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Join me in the pledges. I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
state of Texas.
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee.
Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
I do believe in God, and I believe that you listen, but I think about halfway through that prayer, you really start listening. So, and do note that Wendy Burgess is present, so we have a full slate of board members. Only one quick announcement for me before we get started. You will see that we all now have a computer in front of us. This is a new system for us, and so if you're watching online and or present, give us a moment. We're learning them as we go. And here's the statement. We will be using new board management software for the first time today. This software has a split screen capability to live stream while accessing the agenda and the timestamps the video after the meeting to expedite finding a particular item. It has an easily searchable archive. You can sign up to receive email notifications each time an agenda is posted for a meeting. Voting results will be posted on the screen in the boardroom during the meeting. All of this enables transparency and assists public engagement. Please be patient as we may need to revert to manual voting at some point due to connectivity issues. So just give us a little leeway. We have them. They're cool. We'll learn them as we go. First thing on the agenda then is a report by the Taxpayer Liaison Officer. Welcome. How are you?
Good morning, everyone. Using new computer technology is a tribute to everybody's intuition, so have faith in yourself a little bit. You'll persevere. I want to let you know, in addressing the board, Chairman Barnes, and certainly distinguished board members, and Chief Appraiser Bobbitt, you have probably noticed a recent pickup in urgency and complexity in our activity with taxpayers. I certainly have. And they are very willing to problem solve with me when I make contacts verbally with them. And it's very interesting and to hear one lady yesterday wanted to know why it was important that she give her opinion of her property value in preparing her protest form. Well, that's a construct of due process. Of course, she should have an opinion of what her property is worth. It's part of the process, but she was puzzled by that a little bit. So it's the everyday kinds of questions that come that have particular meaning. And each of those kinds of questions are usually individual to each taxpayer. Makes this very interesting work. I've had about 175 inquiries of various natures, and you know that's because of different levels and different levels of understanding, but different levels of cases. So 72% have been delegated or redirected to other sources. And then 28% I've been able to pretty well direct response, answer queries. Not always without some return dialogue, and that's important too, if they need to come back to me. The intervention stage, I must compliment this appraisal district. The vigor in which you hold your informal hearings is amazing. And I am sure that with each one of those informal hearings being completed, that you are improving the level of targeted appraisal review board sessions to come in the near future. If I'm wrong about that, I would be surprised. Also, your customer service desk does I'm sure, quite a vital business every single day, because I know the kinds of questions I forward to them. Sometimes it's one detail, sometimes it's multiple details that I'm asking them to handle. And to my knowledge, they're covering that waterfront. Our resolution stage, of course, my target is renewed ARB hearings that are very targeted and very effective in problem solving for our taxpayers. The taxpayers that need the ARB should have that, and with your informal hearings and the vigor with which you pursue those, I'm sure that's about to happen. Do want to let you know we do have one what I call a lingering 2024 case. It was finished, but there's been a pursuit of some comment after the fact with staff, and we now have routed that case to our attorney Armstrong for further review, just so we have abundance of caution there to make sure that everything is in order. I made the referral thinking everything was already in order, but just to have that assurance before we pursue any other detailed or prolonged dialogue with this taxpayer. Any questions?
Okay, my question is, and I'm now, since you gave your presentation, you referred to an ARB attorney, and I'm assuming that's Armstrong that you
Yes.
just referred to, but how is it determined that he is the ARB attorney?
Just, that was a person to whom the file was sent by staff.
Okay, so he's actually a TAD attorney?
No, the ARB has to have a separate attorney than the appraisal district. And so we have Roy Armstrong, who has been chosen by, I don't know if it was by the ARB or by the board of directors. I don't recall who actually.
We didn't choose him.
Okay. Well, it would have been a while back. He operates in a lot of counties, or his firm does, specializing in ARB matters. And so the district has separate attorneys, 3 or 4 different firms that handle valuation disputes, and then the board has y'all's own attorney.
Right, okay, so I'm just interested because I wanted to find out if there is an ARB attorney. Apparently, I'm gonna assume, Matt, since you're the chair of this committee, that you were unaware that there was an attorney as well?
So, whether there was or wasn't an attorney, I'm assuming that we did have an attorney, and without taking action, we're probably not gonna disengage with that attorney. But, no, it's something certainly that, if we feel like we need to have that dialogue, we've gotta.
Yeah, that's not the issue. I just wanted to make sure that the board is aware of what these positions are, since we're in charge of the ARB. We need to be fully aware of what's going on and how that, and I have no problem with what you did. I wanted to question the fact that you referred to an ARB attorney. I did not know we had one, so now I know.
I can share with you, Ms. Pena, that Roy Armstrong does a lot of the training for ARB committees across the state. In fact, probably more so than any other attorney that I know. And he has, I think, considerable experience in that kind of position.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board? We do have public comment on this presentation, so thank you very much. Chandler Crouch.
Hello, board. I don't see a timer.
You do, it's on the screen to your
Okay,
right.
that'll get there. Thank you, Taxpayer Liaison. I have been receiving about 1,500 inquiries a day for a while. That's kind of an average, and so I just thought I should kind of give my own Taxpayer Liaison from the private sector here. Just wanted to mention there is a lady. I'm not going to mention her name. She's she had her disabled parents passed away. And she inherited a house in 2011. Somebody forgot to file the Ladybird deed, so the inherited property became public record. Recently, she was doing the responsible thing by making sure her exemptions were in place, and then people discovered the errors that the exemptions from her deceased parents were discovered. They got revoked, and whenever they get revoked, they're applied retroactively. Several years. These were retroactively applied 4 years. The law allows her, she qualifies for a disability exemption that she wasn't aware wasn't applied to the property. So she was able to go back 2 years. Now she owes $17,000, and she can't get a job. So we've got a little bit of a challenge there. Just wanted to mention that one. We've got a handful of situations where somebody contacted our office. They got a notice saying that they were deceased. And they, in fact, weren't. That's just part of the due process. There was one, I don't want to run out of time. There's one other instance that I think I would be good to mention just while we're doing this kind of thing. But I want to give some accolades to people. We've referred many cases to staff here and to the Taxpayer Liaison. They've done an incredible job. So I just want to mention some of these. Mr. Bobbitt has been very responsive. Mr. McKissick has been very responsive. We've resolved somewhere around 2,900 protests so far, so we're doing great there. The exemptions department, Tammy Seegers went over and above, calling a few times to make sure that a client understood why an application was rejected. She's did a great job. It was for a 100% disabled veteran. Elizabeth Lopez responded with great details about a process for combining accounts, went over and above. Vanessa Harvey responded with great details about missing a disabled person's exemption. John Papaskar responded with excellent information and went above and beyond to help. It's about a difference in value combining accounts. Misty Lester helped answer questions about a surviving spouse disabled person's exemption. The webmaster, no clue who that was. They replied about an updated deed record. Debbie Branch replied quickly about mystery notice that turned out to be a mineral rights thing. There are just Emma King. There are a number of people that did an incredible job serving the public. I just thought I'm exposed to a lot here that she's not, and so I just thought I would mention that. Thank you for your time.
And
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may be heard, over here in the corner. And Mr. Crouch, I appreciate, and I think the staff do as well, but for personal reasons, if we could do first names only, that would be probably most appropriate.
Yep. Sorry, apologize for that.
Thank you for your report. Next on the agenda is the Appraisal Review Board Committee report.
Yeah, real thankful to Gloria, Eric, and Wendy for this committee. I think we're operating with real decent efficiency, and we were able to, with Betty's help and Grady's help, we were able to manage through the process of making sure we're staffed appropriately for all of our hearings. All this is going to be found in the consent agenda, so hopefully we've all reviewed consent agenda, but again, I think a job well done, and special thanks to Betty and Grady for helping us through it.
Any questions? Okay, next, report IT Committee, Mr. Blaylock.
Thank you, Chair. So the IT Committee met last week, and we reviewed the current state of IT infrastructure upgrade, as well as current state of the CAMA conversion. We had all members of the committee present, myself, Matt Bryant, Fred Campos, and George Dotson. Conversation was good. We reviewed where we were and where we need to go. We expressed desire for much more information and more visibility into the process, and staff is being responsive to that. We'll be meeting again in, I guess, a week, is that correct? And will the True Prodigy representative be there? So we'll have some deeper discussions next week, and we'll continue to move forward. And we've also talked about how to get some more information into the entire board's hands and to the taxing entities as well, so people have high confidence and high faith in what's going to occur.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Next thing on the agenda is Chief Appraiser's report. No, wait, let me back up. There's a public comment on that report. Mr. Dotson.
Yeah, good morning. I'm pleased to report that the communications about IT activities at TAD have improved immensely under the direction of Mr. Bobbitt. The IT infrastructure is finally being updated after too many years of limited updates, in some cases none. We all saw what happens when IT systems are not continually kept up to date. I won't go into details of the operations, and we just heard the report, but I'm seeing an attitude of openness and sharing of progress and problems that no one was told in the past. I've shared several comments to the Chief Appraiser's IT team, things to watch out for, and of course to the committee that I work on. I believe IT subcommittee has provided great assistance to the board, and I hope the interchange will continue as the project proceeds. The conversion is very complex, and it's also unique because TAD was using a CAMA system, the only one in the United States. So there's just a tremendous amount of complexity. The conversion is proceeding as we just heard. We're asking for more information, and I thank the board for the opportunity to serve on the committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is a report from Chief Appraiser, and we have comments sporadically, so I'll bring those up as they occur. So, Mr. Bobbitt.
We received our second transparency star for public pensions. The previous one we received was open government and compliance. We've also, there's two that we don't believe we qualify for. There's a debt obligation and economic development, which are typically city issues. We went ahead and applied for debt obligation just because we have some leases, and so maybe that will qualify, and maybe we can get that star also. Economic development, I don't believe they'll be granted at all, but we're going to go ahead and try. Contracts and procurement and traditional finances are the next two stars that we'll be trying to achieve. We expect to submit those in August, and maybe for that meeting we'll have results back.
Thank you. Next.
The quarterly investment report. So we have our different investments listed, the return rate, and so far for the first quarter we have earned $204,606 in interest, which is above pace for what we had last year. I believe we earned around 600 and some odd thousand last year. So if this continues, we'll have close to 800,000 this year.
Any questions on that? All right, next issue.
For our true roll homestead audit, so this is, there was the legislature passed a requirement that we audit homesteads once every 5 years. So we moved from a very manual process in making everybody reapply once every 5 years. We moved to an automated process, or at least electronic process, where accounts get flagged if they need to reapply based on a variety of factors, from mailing address, voter registration, vehicle registration, post office indications that the property is not unoccupied or has a person has moved. And so then we only have to reach out to those people. And so right now, there's been roughly 30,000 properties that have been flagged. But out of the 392,000 parcels across the county, most of those have been validated. 63% were validated as those are being good. We don't need to review those. And so most are valid, and we only need to actually validate roughly 24% or close to 30%, just to see if and most of those will be fine also. So,
Questions? Go ahead.
yeah, we have roughly 21,000 have been received, 7,500 have been approved. There's 470 that we've asked for additional information, and so we have 30 days left to make a determination. And so those are getting close because we've asked for additional information. And if we don't receive anything, then those will be denied, and they can go through the protest process.
Any questions from the board on this report? All right, next, True Prodigy.
For True Prodigy, we included a graph that shows the different phases. Like there's 4 phases to the conversion project. We're in phase 1 right now, and so there are multiple steps in that phase. And so you can see a rough estimate or timeline for when each of these items will take place. In it, there are 4 different iterations or 5 iterations is what it's showing. But we'll be submitting information to the tax office. That way, as we get our system data out of the current Canvas system into the new system, we'll be able to export data from it to the tax office to let them make sure that they can import it and make sure that data is tracking and matching in their system. So we'll go through basically 4 or 5 iterations of making sure that the data matches and everything goes, all 3 systems will match before we actually do the final conversion and cut over.
The only thing I'd like to add on this agenda item is that the county has put together what we're calling an oversight committee on this topic. What happens out of TAD is only one part of the issue for us. It relates to multiple other conversations within the county, but also as it is utilized for all the taxing entities across the county that we serve. And so that committee will be meeting toward the end of this month, and we'll report on that in June, and we'll have another meeting in June, and have more information coming forward. So we will have a group, it's really an oversight group, a bunch of IT experts, people that can talk language that I can't talk, that understand the details of all of this, and so we will be pulling that group together again, I believe it's on May the 24th. Next, yep.
Then there's a chart that shows data that we have exported, but then moving to the overview of customer traffic. So this is we have a system out front, a little kiosk where you can get a ticket when you come in. And so it shows hourly, basically each hour of the day, how busy we are, our service level, and how many are within the service level and how many exceed the service level. Average wait time is how much they're actually waiting out there before they're actually seen by our staff. And then transaction time is how long they're actually talking to our staff. And then the last column is the average total time that they're in the building. And so right now, right around lunchtime is when it gets the busiest, and we get up to around 13 minutes total time in the office is the average. And so that is still, I consider, pretty exceptional. So that's our goal. Right now, we're quite busy today. Tomorrow's the deadline for protest, and so today's average will be quite a bit higher, and tomorrow's average will be even higher, because as just more and more people come in as the deadline approaches, we'll see that influx. And so y'all may get some complaints that their waiting time was more than I even want. So, but we're working through it as fast as we can.
Questions?
Yeah, Joe Dunn, I'm sorry, go ahead, Gloria. Yeah, looking at the average time, for a government entity, that's pretty impressive thus far.
We're pleased. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
that's
always
great.
room to improve, but
Pretty impressive.
Well, I just wanted to comment that as a board member, more often than not, we get complaints and no compliments. But I have actually gotten several calls from people who are the complainers saying they were amazed and impressed and very happy with the turnaround time that they experienced when they came to the building. And they said that they had never seen nor expected it to be that smooth for them. So I just wanted to make sure I shared with other parts of the public that I got that from some of the citizens that came in here.
the staff have done an exceptional job, and they continuously try to improve that process and streamline it. So they're doing exceptional.
Matt, did you have some?
No,
Okay. All right, next, go ahead, just keep going.
On notices, there's a graph from our print vendor that shows how many notices we mailed by different type in April and May, and then the grand total. So we've mailed 678,000 pieces as of like a week ago. At the bottom line, there has the tax freeze postcard. There were 338,000 that we mailed. On the line right above that in May, it shows 22,396 those were the cards that had to be, or the appraisal notices that had to be mailed to postcard recipients that should not have received them. And so below that, I have an explanation for kind of how that transpired. But the system doesn't have like a wizard or a way to automatically select which properties need to receive a notice. So we run through a series of queries to build a list of people that need to receive a notice. Departments will be excluding properties from getting a notice for a variety of reasons. It could be a deed transaction, could be exemption transaction. It could be just information we still need to process. And so there were 22,000 that were held out from the first batch of notices, but they weren't flagged when it came to the postcard. And so because they didn't get a normal notice, they got pulled into the postcard run. And so there's a little bit of duplication of effort, and it probably confused quite a few people, because then 2 weeks later, we turned around and mailed them a letter along with their actual appraisal notice that says, we made a mistake and your property was you improperly received a postcard.
We do have public comment on this. Ms. Syed?
Good morning, Board. I'm one of those fortunate property owners who get the postcard first and then the notice along with the apology note. That is very impressive. There is very first time appraisal district send a notice with the apology note they made a mistake. But when I talk about that on April 24th, Chief Appraiser mentioned that yes, it's not only me, but 20,000 more, over 20,000 more property owners. But still, there is some property owners whose values are there. They did not get the notice yet. Some of them are my neighbors. So it's happening in our own backyard. People are not getting notice in Keller, in Colleyville, and other parts of the Tarrant County as well. I can see one pattern. If you own 2 properties, I'm not talking about 10, 12, 15 properties, 2 properties, you get them postcard for your investment or rental property, but those property owners will not get notice or postcard for their homestead properties. And that's the pattern. They will not get notice for their homestead. So I don't know what the actual number is, but please look into it and send them notice along with the further 30 days for protest. Thank you.
If you can provide me an example property, that way we can research it and see.
Well, if it's allowed by the attorney, I can give you the address right now.
Well, email it to me if you don't mind, just
Okay,
that way.
sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Questions?
I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Yell
Yes.
at me down there.
Yes, sir. So Jodan, on that aspect of it, if there is an address, a property that possibly hasn't received a postcard, is there a realm of possibility that that postcard might have gone to an agent if that owner has an agent that has protested? Because I know that it to be true that if they have an agent, and it might not be for that particular property, but others, if they have a protest agent, those notices go to those protest agent unless they choose to have it go to both. So could that be a possibility, or did you take that into account?
For postcards, if I'm correct, we mailed it specifically to the owner. 'Cause the agent
Owner
doesn't
only, okay.
care, because
Okay.
it was property specific, so our
Okay.
intent was to mail it to the owner and
Okay.
not to the agent.
Okay, great.
On the appraisal notice, though, they might not get an appraisal notice
Right.
if they have an agent selected.
Right, okay, I just wanted to make that clear because I know that in the value notices, they do oftentimes go to the protest agent, and that's confusing for people.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank
If they
you.
look on our website, do the property search, it should have their property appraisal notice. If we mail them one, it should show up on there.
Okay.
That way they can see, and then their deadline will be whatever it says. If there's one missing, I would still file by May 15th, or give us a call.
Right, and so there's always lessons learned that we're looking to see those outliers so those problems can be fixed in the future.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Thank you. Any other comments on this topic? Okay, next, go ahead. Eric.
I think we have one more.
Yeah, sorry, a quick question. Just want to clarify real quick, Jodan. Did you make I thought I heard you make a comment that some of those mistaken postcards, they had like a deed transfer or something else going on where it was a mistake. And did you say towards the end there that some of them are still being looked into or something like that?
Well, based on the comment, if there's some that are still missing or people think that we have not sent them, then I need to look into it and see if there's another pattern that we haven't considered or something. But, so, as far as I know, everybody has received one that should have received one, and I think our last set of notices are going out today. Personal property being mailed today. There may be a few handful of personal property gets mailed later, but by and large, 98% of stuff should be mailed by today.
Okay, I was just making sure. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, update on protest season.
There's this sheet, and this is as of a week ago, but the main thing, we have roughly 20,000, these are all residential, but 20,000 that were pending to be reviewed. There are 52,000 that have already been resolved just in residential. And then below, there's 22,000 that were dismissed. Basically, out of the 52,000 that we've already resolved, some of those have received multiple protests, and so they're not eligible. We've already agreed to it or have a joint motion or settlement waiver. And then some of the agents are they submit the same list each time, and so as they update their list, they just submit all of them back to us, and so they're already been closed out. And so that's what's generating the 22,000. We're not dismissing them, saying they're not valid. It's already been resolved. But so far, roughly 60% of these that have come in, we've managed to resolve, and so we're on track. I think as of this morning, it was like 80 or 90,000 that we've already settled. And so last year we had 250,000 protests, and so we're almost halfway complete in the grand scheme.
Questions?
Does that include online settlements?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me.
Questions, comments? Okay, cybersecurity.
We use a system called KnowBe4, and so annually we have to report, the board has to certify that we have conducted our cybersecurity training that's required by law. And so the staff, we're at 99%, will be complete this week. As we get new employees are automatically enrolled, but we'll also probably have to enroll y'all, the board of directors. Now that we have computers and emails, we need to enroll y'all that we all can have fun cybersecurity training. And so we'll give y'all an email when that is sent out and y'all get enrolled. I think we have to report it by August 31st.
No pressure. No pressure.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions, comments? That's the report for the chief appraiser. Next thing on the agenda is discussion items. Discussion items not require a vote of the board. They're just discussion items. So our discussion item on this agenda is the 2026 budget workshop.
Staff have gotten together, and we've been trying to maintain a flat budget. From operational expenses year over year, we're actually at about a 0.5% reduction. However, the entity election is 800,000 is what our estimate is for the coming year, and so that's roughly a 2% increase over last year. Originally, I think we were forecasting or assuming that the election cost would come down as it moves into a November election. That may not be the case. So.
Any questions?
I had questions.
Yes, ma'am.
On the budget, and I can't tell if, because of the system, I can't tell if this is the part where you made your recommendations or showed us where the excess funding was?
Oh, no, ma'am, not yet.
We're not there, okay.
No, ma'am.
That's where I have my comment.
And on am I on? On the appraisal review board compensation, there was we only spent about half of what we budgeted for in fiscal year 2024. And then, you budgeted for way more than we spent last year, and then it went down again. What is the reason for that?
Well, the
those
24
changes?
first column was what we estimated based on past years.
And what was actual?
And so we didn't spend that much. We expect that we'll have less also this year. And so the 25 budget, we don't have what the actual is yet.
Right.
And so we expect that number to be closer to 350,000, if not less than last year.
Okay.
if everything stays on path, we'll spend less than we did last year. But we don't want to
Right,
we
and
don't
then
wanna cut
less,
too much.
you're expecting less for FY 2026 as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm gonna stall for just a moment. There's a lot of numbers on a small sheet of paper here, so. And if you figured out how to blow up your screen yet, it's a lot easier.
know. Yeah, oh, I can zoom it, but.
And
Joe
then-
Don, where, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Where do I find in here our budget for putting together some dollars and cents to potentially settle lawsuits in court?
Under legal litigation, arbitration expense.
Litigation.
Under
Third
the
one
big-
down in the
there
second
it is.
section.
There's a big black bar, and then third one down below that. We have 1.7 million is what we're estimating. We still have 300,000 in the reserve or the contingency.
And how many roughly did we go to court on? I mean,
I don't believe we took, did we ever take anything to court, Blake?
We've been to court, but not for a full trial in a few years.
okay.
We were often there on motions.
Let me ask a question in relation to that. So I know that the feedback from some of our commercial folks in particular, well, from entities that relates to commercial folks, is that commercial folks have gone to the attitude of just sue them. We're not gonna talk about this, we're not gonna go meet with any ARB group, we don't care about any of that, we're just gonna go straight to lawsuits. And if we're not gonna go to court, are we just settling everything?
Based on evidence, yes. I mean, it's still a review of evidence, but most of the time, it's, market usually isn't what we're talking about. We're usually talking about equity, and there's not really a method that's clarified in the tax code or supported by USPAP. It's pretty vague, and so every agent will have a different spin on equity. And so you can easily justify some reduction in any given property. And so it somewhat becomes a risk-reward kind of conversation. You know, how much do we want to spend at trial? We have to pay attorney's fees, they don't. And so if we go to trial and lose, then the impact could be catastrophic to our budget quickly. I've spent $600,000 in one lawsuit in my former life, so it can quickly add up.
Yeah, very aware of that.
But,
Go ahead.
Rick, when the previous board set the budget up, because we were aware of that mentality, we went ahead and increased the legal fund contingency amount so that we not only knew, but the public, if they look at our budget, are aware that we are not going to just let things go. So that's why there's an amount in our contingency for those lawsuits. So if we need to, then we've got money there to do it. And we leave that at the discretion of whatever evidence is presented to the staff.
Yeah, and I think that's certainly the way to do it. I also, though, look at $1.7 million, and that might cover 3 lawsuits.
We average about $900 per lawsuit, or ballpark. It might be 800 something, but.
900 with extra numbers, extra zeros.
Yes, yes, yeah, 800 to 900, less than 1,000 roughly, that's average. So some lawsuits, we get non-suited because they don't have anything. Some, it may be 5 to 10. I think the average for, William says, for the last, however many years is between like 8 and 16% is our typical reduction.
We can increase that, but what was it before we increased it with the contingency? What was that amount, about 600,000?
Well, no, we spent roughly 1.7 million the last several years, but we added a $300,000 contingency fund or committed fund that we did not have in the past.
And we can increase that to have it available, not dedicated to that line item necessarily, but as a contingency amount, so that we have the capability of moving that around if necessary.
Yeah, I don't know what the right answer is, and maybe that's the right answer. The right answer is to appraise them correctly. That's the right answer, to where they aren't thinking they need to come in here and sue us for it. I think that's the problem with appraisal districts across the entire state right now is I think we're starting to recognize that the appraisal process is incorrect everywhere. And we're having this conversation, we're hearing this conversation on the floor of the Texas House right this minute. And, so best approach is to get to where we aren't getting sued at all. But if we are gonna get sued, are we handling those lawsuits correctly, or are we just settling them? And if the expectation becomes we will settle with anything, we can expect more lawsuits.
Correct.
So Rick, you touched upon it earlier, but I'd like to bring it up for more discussion. We're hamstrung by the state legislature with respect to, we're responsible for attorney's fees, and they are not, those suing us. And again, incomprehensible that our state government would set something up, wrong, with implicit bias, which it hurts our ability to be able to, hey, let's get to a fair value. I mean, and a fair value is what it would sell for. And so I do think you're spot on that we might, as we continue to look into this, we might discover that, holy cow, we've got some abusers of this. We've got some abusers, and it is probably wise to put more money in the war chest and be prepared not to just settle, but you know what? Let's go to court. You're so far off, let's go to court. But again, it's so frustrating that we are burdened by the legal expenses, whereas the commercial accounts aren't. It's wrong. It's wrong.
We're on the legal line, and it's no surprise that our legal counsel may have some advice here.
I was
Yes,
gonna
ma'am.
say, I think the attorney could give you some, history for, the reason that we did what we did.
I think I could. I don't know if I'm on.
It,
I think I could give history, but I think we're going beyond the
Right.
topic.
Right.
So I think we should wrap this portion of the
Yeah.
discussion up.
Okay, any other questions on the budget?
I have a question. There's a 22% increase in capital outlay. Could you elaborate on that a little bit? Is that for improvements to the building, or over here
That's
from
the,
705?
the new printer lease, and then some
Okay.
furniture.
Okay.
Anything else? Any other comments, questions?
Just one quick comment, just for everybody. This is an evolving document. We will be having meetings and discussions about it as we move forward. So I look forward to those conversations.
All right, thank you. If I can figure out how to get back. Next item on the agenda is consent items, A, B, C. A is minutes from the previous meeting. B is accept resignation of ARB review members. C is resolution to appoint auxiliary ARB members. I did not hear any reason to pull any of those from consent. I'd entertain a motion to approve all consent items. It's been moved that we approve items 4, A, B, C. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor, do something.
How do we do this?
Yeah.
I will push the vote to you,
This is
but
the
who was the
moment.
first?
This is our first vote to do, so
Is it
this is
like-
all kinds of excitement here.
I'm ready.
She has to enter who made the motion, who made the second, and then she'll
Are these,
send it to y'all to
are
vote.
these touchscreen, or do we do use?
It's touchscreen.
Okay. Okay. I'm touching it, and nothing's happening.
Have a handy
I
dandy
know some of you are
stylus,
getting
just so you
jittery, just
know.
hang in there. Yes, you can use the stylus if you need to, that's the fun part.
Yeah, good luck putting it back on there.
I'm just going to make a quick comment about the system. Right now, I'm showing Mr. Crouch has gone 31 minutes
31
and 2
minutes
seconds
ago,
over
yeah,
time.
yeah.
That timer's not
We're gonna penalize him
updating.
for
How
future
obnoxious.
comments.
Members, you should all have a pop-up to vote now.
Motion's approved. You can see on that screen, it's on your own screen now. It's very fun.
Feedback,
show
the
on
little
my
pop-up window was pretty effective there.
We done well.
Look at us.
The amount of time it took you to vote, we'll probably add 30 minutes to every meeting, but we're good. Next item, public comments. No, scratch that. Oh yeah, public comments. We have action items coming. The next 4 items are action items. Public is invited to address the board before each action item regarding that particular item on the agenda. During the item, the chair will allow each speaker 3 minutes to speak. The board may refuse to hear comments on subjects not reasonably related to the items on the agenda. First agenda item is 6A, authorize the chief appraiser to contract with health insurance consultant service. I'm going to turn to Mr. Bobbitt first to speak, and then I'll call up comments.
I have public comments.
Yeah, you have comments on the action items. I'll call,
Public comments also.
and we'll have those at the end of the meeting.
Oh, so you're changing the agenda.
Yeah, my mistake on that. Yeah, you're right.
Thank you for letting us know.
Yep. All right, go ahead.
So, we typically have a contract with a broker to help us get our employee benefits, insurance, and then we'll also, our retiree insurance. And so, we've gone out for bid. The prior contract was a one-year agreement and it has expired. And so now we've gone out to bid. We had two respondents, Hub International and USI Southwest. So those were the only two respondents. And they have both agreed to a 4-year contract at the 1-year price. So once we received the responses, we kind of were able to renegotiate, and they were both able to agree to what they offered the first year to continue for 4 years, if we do a 4-year contract.
Okay. She's working on, we can't pull up the attachment, so she's
Oh.
working on it.
Actually, I'm still moving the comment section. It's just a little bit slow. Okay, thank you.
Now, can you get in?
Yes, sir.
There it is. Maybe?
Mine did it.
I can't get the attachment.
It opened on my end.
I'm sorry?
It opened on my end. Is everybody else good?
The attachment?
Yeah.
Yeah, it won't let me. I'm not authorized.
I've learned with my computer, if you hit it really hard on the right side, it works better.
I'll do the left.
See, that messed it up. You're on the wrong side. We do have public comment on this agenda item. First one is Jeff Anderson.
How much time do I have?
3 minutes,
No.
and it'll be on.
Click on this and it should
Okay.
take you to it anytime you're.
Thank you.
off
Yeah, my
topic.
name is
When
Jeff
you're on,
Anderson. I've been in this
it's gonna
business
take
for
a
about
second.
close to
Slow
30
loads.
years. One of the things that's somewhat unique to my relationship with Tarrant Appraisal District is in my prior firm, I used to serve Tarrant Appraisal District on their benefit programs. Okay? I recently came to USI about 3 years ago. But prior to leaving my prior firm, I was the one that put the TAC plan in place with Blue Cross because I thought that was in the best interest of TAD, its employees, and the value of the benefit programs. Just real quick on USI, we're a large national firm, but we are structured more on a regional basis, but we are one of the largest privately held firms in the country. Because of that, that's significant because that allows us to develop and engage and invest in a lot of the technology resources here on a local basis. Underwriters, actuaries, legal counsels, wellness clinicians, et cetera, technology experts, et cetera. We understand that the job for this role is to help the HR department manage the ancillary programs, the retiree programs for TAD, Tarrant Appraisal District. We are fully equipped and prepared to do that. One of the other things that we know that's of significance is a recent transition to Paylocity, Benefits Administration System, which we are prepared to implement and help implement and support. USI does have an elite level partnership with Paylocity. Gives us access to a lot of their top leaders, their resources, preferred integration, et cetera. That would be one thing that we would try to help engage TAD, Tarrant Appraisal District, with that arrangement. Because that arrangement with TAD and Paylocity was put in place before we were engaged, we cannot guarantee that, but our relationship with Paylocity is strong, and we recognize the importance of helping in that implementation and integration process. In addition to this, with our fees, we understand that there's two components to the fees, an option 1 and an option 2 on the medical side. One of the things that we would be prepared and engaged to do is to use our underwriters that are here local, that
would come to Tad's office. We would engage in renewal projections, evaluations of the current TAC program to determine if it's the best value from a cost standpoint. Okay? That's all I have. Any questions from me?
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no other further comment on this agenda item. Scratch it, there is. Monica Blakely.
Good morning. Good morning, members. My name is Monica Blakely. I'm with Hub International. I'm one of the consultants on the employee benefits side. Hub International is a top 5 brokerage firm. We do have offices across the U.S., here locally, specifically in Fort Worth as well as Dallas. We specialize in the public sector. We have actually over 500 clients here in the state of Texas that are specifically in the public sector. In Tarrant County, we actually work with many municipalities. For example, City of Arlington, City of Euless, Bedford, Hearst, and many, many more. So our team is truly specialized to work with government entities like yourself. You would have a full staff, not just myself, but other team members supporting your employee benefits, from actuarial services, projections on your employee benefits program. We have a team that actually handles any type of service issues, again, an extension to the HR department, helping employees with their needs, understanding their employee benefits, communication, any type of wellness initiatives, any type of service issues, whether it's with your carriers or if your employees are experiencing those type of issues. We have a staff that will be able to support them as well. Our team will be dedicated to providing the communication pieces for your employees throughout the year, whether it's prepping for open enrollment, doing any type of webinars, recordings. We will also do a full audit of your employee benefits program upon hire. That will ensure that you are compliant with any type of federal and state regulations. Other than that, I want to open it up to any questions that you may have.
Seeing no questions, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Back to the agenda then. So is there any comments, discussions from the board?
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for the chief appraiser. The recommendation is that we go ahead and engage for a 4-year agreement to provide the insurance with an annual price. But my concern is, of course, as you know, the board, cannot commit for the next 3 years. We can only commit for the year in hand. I want to assure that there is a verbiage in that agreement that states that every year the new board, whoever's in that board, has to agree to that next step.
If y'all authorize me to negotiate a contract where it has that language, or we'll just do a 1-year contract if that's not agreeable.
Okay, the other question is, in this recommendation for approval, if we approve it for a 4-year agreement, I guess my question would be more for the attorney. Are we agreeing to allow you to proceed for the next 4 years without coming to the board?
Typically, we bring back contracts to the board for the board review annually.
But based on this verbiage that's being recommended, to me it appears that we would be giving you authority to approve it over the next 4 years on our behalf without coming back to the board. That verbiage, to me, that's how I read it.
Yes, ma'am. We could change it to whatever y'all are comfortable with.
Am I reading it wrong?
No, I think there's some room in the reading. And so I think what you're asking is to tighten that language up so there is some oversight. And I think, Mr. Bobbitt, you've suggested that we can do some amendment to the language so that the board has some oversight on the policy in general.
And you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, ma'am.
What is
Maybe
this?
a restatement of that recommendation would be appropriate.
Ms. Pena, your mic is on.
Maybe a restatement of that recommendation would be appropriate.
It would be to, let me find it.
Unless the rest of the board is okay with it.
What is the advantage to doing a 4-year contract? Do we have like added value by
It
doing it that
saves-
way instead of annually?
It saves some cost. 'Cause
Okay, that's what I would
ramps
assume.
up to 49,000 over by the 4th year.
It typically saves money And I think
Right.
anything we can do to save money long-term,
Right.
especially when it comes to insurance, is a good thing.
How about we have our cake and eat it too? Let's ask them to approve for 45,000, a one-year contract, because a one-year contract's more germane with our responsibilities. So I would ask for both.
Do you want to include options for renewal that we bring it back to the board to each year and renew it? So we don't have to go back to RFP again, essentially. It would allow it to.
Which would save money there as well, as far as time and resources.
Will these numbers in the proposal still apply? We just do an annual contract?
We'd have to get with,
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah. Yeah, it seems like it would be higher.
Well, if he does it with, the thing is, we cannot commit the future boards, is my point. So if we could do it where we negotiate it with the term that it has to be brought technically back to the board, I don't have any problem with doing the 4-year, but it has to have that terminology in the agreement. Plus, I think that the way it's phrased, that it gives you the ability to approve it without bringing it back to the board, and I don't think that's appropriate.
Why is your statement that we cannot commit future boards?
I was gonna ask the same
We
thing.
can't, because in the future, there's another fiscal year. So we
Understand
can't-
that.
We don't know what the budget is. How are we gonna commit them to something that we don't know exists?
There's lots of things this board has been committed to that hardly
software.
anybody on this board was here as a part of.
Not all our contracts in the past have always had the terminology in it that said it had to come back. Because what if we don't get any money for our budget? How are we gonna pay this, and we're committing to it? So we don't have that authority to obligate future boards.
Mr. Chairman, comment, okay. Perhaps to address your concern, and I understand the cost argument, what you're trying to say, maybe a direction to Joe Don that when we draft the contract, that there's a generic exit clause statement under any reason. I mean, that should just be standard for contracts anyways. Perhaps that'll address your concern, so if a future board wants to get out, they have an opportunity to get out.
Right.
Might be and just as a standard practice, not even just specifically with this. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Because
pretty
that's gonna
standard.
be my question every time if something like this comes up, because it is a concern. We don't have the authority to obligate future boards.
Yes,
If I may be heard, Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
there is language, the funding clause that could be added that basically says, subject to the ability to pay based on funding, that could be added.
Yeah.
I think the suggestion may create a whole new contract, and it may cost more in the long run. So you could run into a problem there. But there may be some language that could be added based on just the funding clause. It basically says, subject to available funds or funding.
Yeah, and I hope that we just continue to do that as a standard practice, because that is an issue, and I think it's brought up every time we go through this type of process. So I'm surprised to see this, because I thought it was a standard practice now.
Mr. Blaylock.
So, as a board, we have a fiduciary responsibility, and we should always act to make the most financially responsible decision for this year and following years. I don't see an issue with a multi-year contract with appropriate management clauses, but I don't agree that we shouldn't make the best decision for this and future boards based on the information we have.
Any other comments?
can I just ask the vendor, make sure that their vendor's okay with what we're proposing?
Well,
Yeah.
no, I don't think so. I think the board has a decision to make, and I emphatically disagree that we cannot make decisions that go beyond this 1 year. I think that's the responsibility of the organization. And we have issues right now that prior boards have made decisions about that none of us had any conversation in, and that's the way it works on boards of directors. It may not be the way it works on other boards of directors, the way it should work on this board. We have an obligation to the taxing entities to spend their money correctly and to be responsible in our decision-making. And so I don't agree with that comment at all, and frankly, don't care how it might have been done in the past. I would look for either further discussion or a motion on this item.
I would ask for clarification from the attorney.
She gave you clarification already. She told you if you put in a line that
He's
gives
saying
that.
we can obligate future boards.
You can enter
Not only can, but
Enter
do.
into
This
contract
building,
as
the
part of the
building we're
responsibility as a
sitting
board.
in, the building we are sitting in right now was bought by prior boards. And they didn't say, well, let's put a 1-year mortgage on this board.
Would you like me to-
The thought pattern is beyond me.
Mr. Barnes, could I read what I believe you guys have said? I'm not sure that anyone's made a motion yet, but they're,
Yeah, there's no motion. on
I'll
the
make a
table.
motion.
so what I think you guys are saying is authorize the chief appraiser to draft a contract with Hub International for a 4-year agreement with a clause to opt out and an option to renew to provide insurance brokerage service for TAD at the price of $45,000 annually for 2025 through 2028, subject to available funds.
Is that really necessary?
The funding out clause is typical.
That wording's already in there?
It's standard, like
Okay.
if it's not already in there, it's not usually a big deal for the vendors to add it.
Okay. I'll make a motion to authorize the chief appraiser to engage with Hub International for a 4-year agreement to provide insurance brokerage service for TAD at the price of $45,000 annually for 2025 through 2028.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Now, slow down just a
Here we
second.
go.
Think about whatever you need to think about on your own, because this is where our new system needs Julie to type what was just stated.
I just read the recommendation.
Yeah,
So that
you're
should be
good?
easy.
You have
Yes,
that.
sir.
It's been moved and second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Are we not?
Oh, wait,
voting?
wait, wait.
Whoa, whoa,
We're not
wait,
voting on the-
Rick.
Now we get to push another button. My bad.
He couldn't wait.
We can't put the motion up there until it's voted on. Once it passes or fails, it will show on the screen.
He did, real quick. There we go.
Your voting buttons.
Oh, you can vote now? Did everybody vote?
Yep.
Motion carries 8-0. Next agenda item is 6B, consider accepting the TAD Annual Comprehensive Financial Report of the fiscal year. If you can give us a report, and then we do have public comment.
So we do have our auditor here. Overall, with the audit, everything came out okay. Like, we spent $29,721,000, or in revenue, we had $29,721,000. Our total expenditures exceeded that by roughly $200,000. Our total amended budget was $32,417,000. And then our fiscal year ending 2024 fund balance is $11,530,000. Of that, $9.6 million is unassigned, but $8.1 million of that is attributable to our contingency reserve, which is the 25%, basically our 90-day reserve operating fund. And then we have other fund balances that exist that the board has previously committed. Later, we'll get into, there's a $1.5 million that we'll have to commit or return to the entities, depending on what y'all want to do. But I don't know if y'all want to go more into the audit. The auditor can answer fun questions beyond what I can.
We'll come back to board discussion in just a minute. We do have public comment. Mr. Bennett.
Good morning, Board. Daniel Bennett. I'll be really quick. Within the hierarchy, within this report, it says Joe Don Bobbitt, then it goes down to the department heads. I don't see director in that. And I want to commend Brown and you for not putting director in there. Back in 2018, it was always director law, director, I can't even remember who they are now. It's Armstrong, director, they're all gone, okay? Except for one, Donna Perlich, and I'll be talking about an email in public comments. But that's confusing to the public. These are department heads. This isn't a corporation. And so we got an executive director, and then we have directors. And thank you for cleaning that up. I do appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, back to the board. There's no further public comment on this one. Back to the board on this issue. Discussion, questions, comments, motion. It's been moved that we approve the report. Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded that we approve this report. Discussion. Seeing none, the moment is here again to vote.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Getting really
Heck.
good at it.
Slow down. Slow down.
Motion carries 8-0. Thank you for that. Next agenda item, consider waiving penalty and interest for 2024 fiscal year and refunding the fees collected to entities. This is returning as an agenda item from past meetings. Discussion from Mr. Bobbitt.
So, I believe I've passed out a piece of paper to y'all also that has the total amount, that we have collected in penalty and interest. Thanks, not on. But so you have a sheet that has the amounts that we have collected from the entities that had penalty and interest assessed, how much was paid, and then so if you are going down the path of refunding some of this, this is how much is actually on the table to be refunded or waived. And so there's the gray box at the bottom shows the amounts for how much would be refunded, would be $184,451. The waive total would be $196,358, and that includes fiscal year 2025 as well.
We do have public comment here again. Mr. Bennett, call you back up. Thank you.
Good morning again, Board. Mr. Bryant, I want to see you make a motion to permanently table this, as you did for the reappraisal plan, which passed 5-3. This is an abhorrent idea because when you stand on the courthouse steps and you see people's homes being sold because they can't meet the penalty and interest, or when there's not enough money in the coffers to refund people, and the county's really going to have to break bonds to give money back to people because their exemptions that disappear get put back on. They only get to go back 3 years, 4 years. No, they get to go back 5, I think. I know the county gets to go back 5 + 1. And so my neighbor got $6,200 reimbursed because his exemption disappeared and he didn't know to protest. Well, we fixed him. Cost $6,200 to the county. This is not justified because people, the entities cannot be held to different standards. So I hope you'll make a motion to permanently table this and stick to the property tax code. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sayed.
Well, I'm totally opposing that. If any of you delinquent on your taxes, you will not be sitting here and making decisions. I'm asking you, Mr. Chairman, you are also a tax assessor collector, and in some sort you have an authority to waive penalty and interest for residents. And I'm asking the question, for the last 5 months as a chief tax assessor collector, how many penalty and interest you waive for the actual taxpayer? And this is because of one big taxing entity is fighting with the appraisal district and showing their power to bring this item again and again. We are discussing it again for the last 5-6 months. Please look into it. Do not refund the money to any of them and send them, I would say, a strong message. Pay the interest and penalties. Thank you.
Thank you. No further public comment on this one. Back to the board. Mr. Blaylock.
So Chairman Barnes, I would like to get some advice from our lawyer, and so I would ask that we defer this discussion until after executive.
Without objection, we'll move it to the executive session. Is there any objection? We'll bring this back up after that meeting then. Thank you. 6C. where we're at? No, 6D.
Yes, sir.
Consider adopting resolution 2025-12 to commit, I was like, how's that, 2025-26, that didn't make, so 2025-12 to commit unassigned funds to existing committed funds. Mr. Bobbitt.
So each year, when we have any excess funds, we have to commit those funds or return it to the entities. So currently, we have assigned for prepaid items, which isn't really, is to me different, but we have 300,000 for committed for litigation. We have 0 remaining committed for software purchases. We have 404,000 committed for building maintenance. We have 395,961 committed for technology. 0 remaining for committed for pension contribution. And assigned, not committed, but we have 632,000 that has already been basically approved by the board to be spent for cybersecurity and IT enhancements. And so it's been moved into an assigned instead of a committed. Then 25% of our budget is 8.1 million, which is our 90-day reserve. And then unassigned is the 1.5 million. And so that is what we need to kind of break up and decide what y'all want to commit it to or how much you want to reserve, refund to the entities. And so we would, I think staff would recommend that we put money back kind of where we took it from over the past year. And if there's any other special projects, the entity election, or not entity election, the board of director election, that's 800,000 going forward. So we may need to put some money away towards that.
Before we discuss as a board, we do have public comment. Mr. Bennett.
Mayor Jarrett down in Hood County, Granbury, has been dealing with this, and so has the county commissioners. I've been down to Hood under Mr. Law's tenure. 606J. If the total amount of the payments made or due to be made by a taxing unit participating in the appraisal district exceeds the amount actually spent or obligated to be spent during the fiscal year for which the payments were made, the chief appraiser shall, doesn't say maybe, doesn't say board discretion, it says shall, credit the excess amount against each taxing unit's allocated payments for the following year in proportion to the amount of each unit's budget allocation for the fiscal year for which the payments were made. If, now here's an if. We had a shall, now we have an if. If a taxing unit that paid its allocated amount is not allocated in portion of the district's budget for the following fiscal year, the chief appraiser shall, back to shall now, refund the taxing unit its appropriate share of excess funds not later than the 150th day after the end of the fiscal year for which the payments were made. So if you don't credit Fort Worth their excess, then in 150 days, you gotta send them a check. Now, every year we talk about, well, we're gonna do with the excess, we have to allocate it. Once they're committed, we get to keep it. Well, where is that, Mr. Bobbitt? And I'm trying to learn here because I've read 606. And so if you help us out, help the board out.
There's Attorney General opinion that regarding committed and obligated funds.
Yes, that's where it comes from. Okay, that's an opinion based on, and that was Morales.
I believe, I don't recall.
I think it was. I read the opinion. So when you look at this, do we want to? And they're struggling. These places are struggling. And you're going to talk about forgiving penalties and interest. They could take that money and pay their penalty and interest. Okay? They should have some determination on their money on these excess funds per the property tax code, not Dan Morales. Thank you.
Thank you. No further public comment on this one. Back to the board. And at this point of where we're at, the screen, yeah, okay.
Question, what's the time frame for us needing to make this decision? Is this imperative for today, or is there time to consider?
I don't know if there's, I don't know if Sharon knows, but I don't, usually it's done after the audit.
And before the next budget, which is in August?
I have to submit it to the entities and to the board by June 15th, and it gets adopted before September 15th.
Mr. Chairman, a comment. Couldn't that be included in our budget workshop discussions? Maybe that would be more appropriate.
I believe so, unless Ms. Sharon objects.
There's no objection. I think that's a good time to have that discussion.
Yeah, and perhaps maybe if it's if I could make a motion to maybe table this for our budget workshop.
Would you want any comments from the rest of the board as to concerns and then areas that the workshop can address?
I'm sorry?
Would you want any comments from the rest of the board for input for that workshop and areas that we would like to have addressed?
Yeah, certainly, yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that, there's a couple of things that I would like addressed. One is that is somebody buzzing me?
The emergency light.
Oh, well, does that create a problem for me? Okay, I'll continue then.
You're good.
Okay. The areas in which we took funding out of the contingency for the current budget, there was a reason because there was funding needed. And one of the big areas that contingency funding was taken out of was the building fund that we're trying to create to have another area that perhaps at one point in time, we have funding available to create an environment that's good for doing our ARBs, for the board to have meetings and so on. That we have tapped quite a bit, so that contingency fund should be considered as adding funding back into, and/or I think we should add what we took out plus a percentage of another amount to increase it. Because if we're building this fund, we can't be continually taking out and not putting something back in and additional amount. So those are the areas of concern for me, those contingency areas that we've been withdrawing from to put money back into those funds. So if anybody else has any concerns, those are mine.
Any other comments on 6D, comments, questions, motions?
I have Mr. Morris as a first motion, is that correct?
Yeah, my motion was to
table.
table
Do we
until
have a
the
second?
budget workshop.
There is a motion then to table until the budget workshops. Is there a second on that motion?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we table this till the budget workshop. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
I'm sending it to you.
It was awesome. It's not bad.
Motion carries 8-0. That's the end of our action items. At this time, the board will recess to executive session. No, are we going, wait, let me back up and ask a question. Yeah, my mistake there, Daniel. I'm gonna get you up here sooner than later. Let's, and I'll wait for a minute for you. So, public comment, section. First is Wayne, is it Wilshire?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I come before you today as a retired TAD employee to seek better retirement funds. I know we came in 2021 and we had a board member tell us that they had a policy that want to give us 1% every 3 years. So the people from the Austin came up and clarified that you can do what you want to do. So I did a quick spreadsheet. In the first column is my actual retirement money, showing that over 6 years, it covered up 10% increase is all. Social Security, I took my wife's, and it's on the right-hand column, and she worked for a company that made printing presses, and she worked there 30 years, and that's what her Social Security went up. It went up from 25.4%. But the good thing about her retirement is they had a 401k. She could put 10% of her check in, they'd match 6%. And thank God we can live on that, because we sure couldn't live on what TAD pays us as retirement. So I'm asking you to look at retirement funds increase for every year. Another thing, I want to call your attention to the sort of the history of TAD retirement. In 1983, when TAD took over, that was state law, they set up the fund for our retirement And it was a private fund that rocked along till early 1993 or 92. I can't get the year straight. It's one of those 2 years. They decided to do away with that firm and give us the money we put in cash. So we could do what we wanted to with it. Some of us were smart enough to invest it. Some of us were smart enough to spend it. So that went away. And then they gave us the option. They gave 2 presentations, one on Social Security and one on the state retirement fund. The difference was on Social Security, the employees paid 7.5%, the district paid 0.5%, and it wasn't negotiable. On the state retirement, the district paid 7%, and some years they did not match that 7%. And that's why the retirement fund is a little bit low. During Ron Wright's reign and Harold Patterson's reign, they tried their best to get extra money at the end of the year to go to the retirement fund, and most times they turned it down. And so I encourage you to take care of the retirees, because if that's the only money they get, they're getting shortchanged. So that's the history of the retirement funds. It doesn't make sense that they did away with the original one, to be honest, but they did. So I ask you this year, when you do your budget, look forward to helping these old retirees. I can survive, thank God to my wife, okay?
Thank you, sir. Are we running the clock somewhere? I can see it on my screen.
Yes, sir. It's not loading onto the public screen, but it is running.
So so you want me to call time, or you call
I
time
can call,
down?
I can let them know.
They're closer to me than they are to you, so if you'll call the time down. So next up, Chandler Crouch.
And this will be the official time.
Okay, well then you tell me when to go.
Go.
All right. I saw that the House Bill 2786 was up for a vote yesterday. It passed the House. This is the House bill that was generated due to the actions of this board. And I think that we are in a very unfortunate position. I have so much to say, 3 minutes will never do it justice, but I'm going to try and hit a couple points here. I'm going to just tell you flat out. I've tried to say a lot of positive things. I'm in favor of every 2 years. I wasn't every 3 years. I made that known. Y'all went to every 2 years. I'm like, rock on. I said, hey, this plan is great, except if we get one of these school districts out of compliance, if they fall below 15% so that their values are at 85.5%, we got to do something about them because they're going to lose a ton of funding. Y'all didn't do anything. Y'all screwed up. Plain and simple. Y'all screwed up. The whole law across the whole state is in jeopardy of being changed. There's a lot of momentum towards that. There are other counties out there that make the every other year system work great because they make reasonable decisions to not make a decision here affect another entity so grossly. It's bad. We do have a state property tax that's been exposed. So many of your comments have been spot on. There's comments today about the lawsuit issues are a big problem. There's some things that weren't quite right about what you said today, but the overall idea that we have a lawsuit problem in the appraisal district, the tax consultants are going to file the lawsuits. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. It's not because of inaccurate appraisals, because they're incentivized to do that, and it's just the way the law set up. You're right about that. It's going to take a miracle for the comptroller, Joe Don Bobbitt, whoever else, to figure out how to bail out Castleberry. If they lose funding and it causes 40 teachers to lose their jobs, that's on you guys. Plain and simple, y'all screwed it up. You're going to screw it up for the entire state. It's a shame. It's great that we sat here and had the conversation about lawsuit issues. It's great that y'all have gone to bat to try and figure out how to make things better for the taxpayer by doing it every other year. So many of these seats are going to get changed because of this. Y'all are going to lose your votes. Other entities, Keller ISD had this split issue. What's happening over and over again on these boards is issues that should never be partisanized, I don't know what the word would be, taken to a partisan issue should never be done that way. And what's gonna happen is the Republicans take it and say, this is our issue. When no tax cuts are happening, nobody's spending less money. Nobody's spending less money. If Castleberry misses out on all that money, those citizens still pay the same amount of money. It just goes to the state, because we have a state property tax. It's far too complicated to wrap up on Facebook comments or what 3
That's
minutes I have here.
time.
Thank you, appreciate it. Got more to say.
Next to speak, Eric, is it Crowell?
Board, good morning. Eric Crowell.
Morning.
I'm here, I want to talk about the tabling motions that Mr. Morris brought up last meeting and comments. Mr. Crowell, can you speak more into the mic for the recording? Thank you. How's this? So I read Robert's rules, and I know this board doesn't have to go by Robert's rules, but I know in your manual you use Robert's rules as a guideline. Motions to table that you did for the indefinitely, it doesn't exist. The correct motion is a motion to postpone indefinitely. Tabling is to a certain time into the future or to the end of session. Well, your session ends when you adjourn your meeting. And so according to your board rules, I'm correct, if you want to bring up an agenda item, one or two board of directors can request the agenda item. So I think what Mr. Morris is trying to do at the last meeting with the reappraisal plan, to kill it indefinitely, it just doesn't exist the way Robert's rules are written. I want to touch on 2786 that was debated on the House floor yesterday. Representative Tinderholt got up and made comments about you, Mr. Barnes, that he had just spoken to you. And the implication was that Tarrant Appraisal District is still doing appraisals for 2025. Now we know we're doing commercial and new home construction, but the implication on the floor of the House was that all property is either being appraised or it hasn't been ruled off the table as yet. So, that might be something to address to, are we appraising or aren't we appraising? That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Bennett.
Daniel Bennett. Oh, wait, are you keeping time or is you? Okay, Daniel Bennett. I only have 2 copies, one for Mr. Bobbitt. Mr. Bobbitt's seen this. Mr. Barnes probably hasn't seen this. This is an email back in 2016 from Donna Perlich to 35 of her employees, 5 which are counter-held. Now, I've told you about people whose exemptions disappeared. I was speaking to Wayne Wilshire. I remember from 2018, he spoke about a story of a vet that lost his house. Now, he lost it because apparently he took a mortgage out, couldn't afford to pay it. But his disabled vet exemption disappeared, and he didn't know it. So neither could he pay his taxes. So this email is 2 weeks after Mr. Law went to Arlington under Betancourt's Property Tax Reform Committee and told Kelly Hancock there's no problems with the system. Mr. Dotson knows better. I knew better. And so did 35 people, at least in this building, from this email. Donna Perlich, May 20th, 2016, to all. We don't know exactly how many accounts were affected by the April NCD errors or on ceilings. Do not tell them not to pay their bill, that we will not only have penalties and interest if they don't pay their bill. Do not tell them to contact the tax office. Please just take their information, email Precious Bowers, who still works here, and I, Donna Perlich, head of support services, the issue they are reporting and years affected and the account numbers. Let the taxpayers know we are looking into it and we'll get back to them before May 31st. Then she had a follow-up email 2 minutes later. Also, like an afterthought, it sounds like O.J. Simpson. Do not tell them we are having system issues. Remember, keep TAD business our business. We are looking into this as quickly as we can. So there's people losing their houses. And I know if you bought houses at the courthouse steps. Now, it could have been that somebody's exemption disappeared, they couldn't pay their taxes, or they paid late, had penalties and interest because of TAD's system that went on for years. So when you think about this executive session, forgiving all this penalties and interest, all these, you don't know the pain the public has gone through. I want to remind you of that. And she still works here, by the way. To your point, all commercial protests, I have emails that said 80% one year from David Law. So it's not all, but Jeff Law told the board, all business protests. That's not true. I got emails that prove it's only 80%. Maybe you did it for effect. I don't know. Let's see, the healthcare system. We're going through major changes, favor nation clause, lower drug pricing. You guys are going to approve a 4-year contract. We want to make sure we get reimbursement if things change majorly in your fees. Just keep that in mind.
Time.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
By the way, that's a public document because a whistleblower document. I gave that to you before you came to TAD. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all we have for public comment. Okay, come on. Yes, you did. We got to approve this form. I can't read what this is. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me opportunity. Well, I would like to point out something very important. April 30th, all those entities get their preliminary values. And based on your reappraisal plan, and I have this discussion several times with Director Bryan, and he said, no, the new sales will be exempt from this reappraisal plan. The new
Don't put words in my
sales
mouth.
happened, the new development, new sales. I'm not talking about new development, but new sales, whatever happened of the existing property is not reflecting in those new values. Those appraisals are same as last year appraisals. I'm talking about market value. Please look into it because this is against your own approved reappraisal plan. When it was passed last year, everyone was like, no, the new development will be exempt from it. I don't get chance to look into new development, but new sales is not reflecting. And that was not the understanding of taxing entities. Please look into it. It's really, it's a big deviation from your own plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Now that's all the forms that I have. At this time, the board will recess to executive/closed session pursuant to the following parts of the Texas Open Meeting Act. Government Code, Chapter 551, Section 551071, Section 551072, Section 551074, and Section 551076. We will return to open session for possible further discussion and possible action on items deliberated in executive session or to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Julie, do you just close?
In this meeting, there is no action out of the executive session and no further issues on the agenda. The next meeting is set for August 13th at 9 a.m. in this room. At this point, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
We have one thing that
Oh.
you had tabled to the end of the meeting. Did y'all want to table that?
Let's table till the next meeting.
You tabled one till the next meeting, and you tabled one till the end of the meeting.
What was the end of the meeting?
What was the one to the end of the meeting?
Consider waiving penalty and interest.
We're moving it to the next
Oh, we gotta
meeting.
move.
Do we need to have a vote to table that to the next meeting?
Yeah, we'll move to table that item to the next meeting on August 13th.
Let's go through the proper process. You gotta remove it, take it from the table, and then, so let's do that and vote on that, and then we will put it back on the table for the next meeting. I'll make the motion. We're gonna move to remove that item from the table.
Second.
It's
So
been
you gotta
moved and
vote for
seconded
it.
that we move that item from the table. Is there any
Uh-oh, I'm
discussion?
off.
All in favor, say aye.
We can't do that.
Or,
We're-
what, do we need?
Fred.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I'm
Wait,
off.
what?
It knocked me
I
off.
can get us
Where
out
are
of here
we?
in 3 minutes, but
Well, I can't vote.
But
It
what,
knocked
where are
me
we,
off.
what are we looking at here?
We're waiting for the vote to pop up. Remember, we
Okay.
vote
Oh, that's right. I was like,
electronically
what's happening here? Okay.
now. Old habits are hard
You
to
better go
break.
get Blake. Where's Blake? It knocked me off. And he's got my password. I gave it to
Oh,
him.
great. Now we're gonna be here for an hour.
All right.
Oh, I see
Now
it.
vote.
I see it. Move from table.
Okay, everybody has it except.
Blake, I'm the problem child.
Rick, do we move to?
Once this gets approved. Gloria's computer's not working.
I can manually enter her if we need to do that.
Yes.
Yes. Do you guys see your pop up? Because I don't see that you voted. Oh, okay, perfect.
Oh, we've already voted, but we can do it again.
She manually entered mine.
All right, that motion carries 8-0.
So I made the motion to table the item until the August 13th
No.
meeting.
Actually, I'm making a motion that we take the penalty and interest to the August 13th, 9 a.m. meeting.
Oh, you're
It's
making
been
it
moved.
more.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor, push your little button here in a minute.
Yes. Why did it do that? It doesn't like me. Okay, sure. I did it.
That motion carries 8-0. There's no more further action on the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn? It's been moved that we adjourn. All in favor?
Who, do we have to electronic vote on adjourning? I guess
I
we
think
do.
so.
I think we do.
Oh,
Yours popped up, mine has not popped up. Let's see.
Who's the first for adjournment? Who motioned to adjourn?
Yeah.
who motioned
I
to
think
adjourn?
Fred.
And Fred?
Right?
Mr. Campbell?
Oh, I'm sorry.
She's asking.
Alan? Wait,
Alan.
Alan did, and then Fred.
Julie, I like your new system.
Thank you. I like it too. Thank you for purchasing it.
All right, we are adjourned.